Welcome to the Uncontested Investing Show, presented by REI Inc. magazine and sponsored by RCN Capital. Each week, we focus on bringing you candid convos from the best in the biz. Here's your host, Tim Harridge.
Welcome to the Uncontested Investing Show, presented by REI Inc. magazine and sponsored by RCN Capital. I'm your host, Tim Harridge, where we weekly have casual convos with the best in the biz. Speaking of the best in the biz, today I'm joined by Josh Wilson. Josh, thanks for being here.
What's going on, Tim?
Man, you know, it's just another beautiful day in Dallas, Texas.
Yes.
Why don't you just take a minute, just say hello to everybody, tell them who you are.
Absolutely. So Josh Wilson, I'm with the BRRRR Bootcamp. We teach the BRRRR method. But in addition to that, I got started in real estate by learning how to do property management, learning how to be an operator when it came to real estate. And I stumbled upon the BRRRR method about maybe 10 or so years ago. And then that is where everything kind of blew up for me. I was your traditional investor that, was doing your 20, 30% down payments. Then found out about the BRRRR method and completely just blew up my portfolio. So,
you know, my wife and I have been BRRRRing since before it was cool.
Yeah.
So I love that we get to talk about this because it's one of those no money down things that people don't understand.
Yeah.
So I like to start these episodes with what I call the bluff, the bottom line up front. When I was in the Marine Corps, I would brief generals, and one of the things they used to tell us was you got to make sure you say the most important thing up front in case the general needs to leave. So 2 minutes, all you, to the audience, what are the most important real estate trends we face today, and where do people need to be focused?
100%. So one thing you'll hear me say a lot today is vertical integration. That is what I have founded my companies on. That is what I've been able to build my companies on. So when I say vertical integration, what I mean is I have a property management company, we have a rehab company, and we also have a sales brokerage and an acquisitions department. So we are vertically integrated within our companies. So we are now able to essentially take the entire process and put it under one roof. And from an efficiency standpoint, from an economy of scale standpoint, it is massive to be able to scale a portfolio. And without that vertical integration, we would not be able to take a $150,000 loan that we started out with, a private money loan, and burn it all the way into over a $15 million portfolio, which actually it's higher than that now. We're growing by the millions just about every couple of months. So it is massive. Vertical integration is huge, and it's one thing that I'm an advocate for, and I teach a lot about it.
I love the concept of vertical integration because whether you're doing $1 billion a year in business or $1,000 a week in wholesales, right? The more of the transaction you can control and influence, and I think even more like not rely on someone else, right? I mean,
absolutely.
This is the worst thing. One of the worst things about this business for me is that so much of your word depends on other people's performance.
Correct. That's a great, and look, even down to like minute details of like when it comes to maintenance, right? Or like rehabs. You know, right now we're in an economy where contractors are just they're not around, or they're not available, or their prices are too high. When you have vertical integration, you are able to take that rehab piece, and we have our own in-house team. So we are in control of how fast our projects get done, and on time and under budget. And that is huge for us.
So let's just take a minute or two to kind of go back in time, if you will. Clearly, you are a Harvard-educated quantum engineer has figured out how to create words like vertical integration. Why don't you just take a minute and I would like to know more, your story, how you got here, how you ended up doing this, and kind of where you think that you can help people that are listening.
Yeah, so it all started, back when I was a kid. There was a guy on the TV by the name of Brad Richdale. He sold these infomercials about all these yachts and jets and everything on the TV. And I was like 7 years old. And I told my dad one day, I was like, Dad, I want to do that. I want to own a yacht. I want to own a jet. And my dad was like, okay, son, whatever, no big deal. So I told him, I was like, look, I'll work, I'll cut grass, I'll do whatever it is. Can you buy me the infomercial? Buy me his little, cassette recordings at the time. So he bought me the actual infomercial. I then took that and I went to my mom's office. She was a secretary at the time. I took it and I photocopied. I put them into like manila envelopes, and I went door to door and sold them for like $100 a piece. So I actually took his information. I had no idea, but that was the entrepreneur in me. I was trying to take a product and then go out and resell it and make money. So that kind of started my spark. And then, one day my wife and I were sitting around after that obviously flopped and only lasted for like a week. My wife and I were sitting around, 10 years later or 15 years later. And she was like, hey, HGTV, looking at these people flipping houses, doing all this stuff. And I just kind of had a little bit of a bug. I had an itch. And I wanted to get into real estate. So the only way for me to get into real estate was I had to learn how to manage properties. I didn't have any money. I was broke. So I ended up working for a property management company. And then a year later, found out again, the entrepreneur bug came back into me again and said, Josh, you can do this by yourself. You can change it. You can, you can make changes and do it better. So that's what we did. Started as a property manager and bam, everything took off from there.
So wait a minute. This was all in the Hamptons, right? Where your family was wealthy?
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Right?
No way. No, we were living in in a rental house. Believe it or not. And I remember sitting in the two bedroom rental house that we had. And
where at?
This was in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Okay. So really known for the wealth and the high education, right? Yep.
Oh, 100%. It was, look, I'm a college dropout. I went to college. I got about $30,000 in student loans and then did 2 years, partied hard. And then bam, I'm back. I was back trying to figure out what the hell I was going to do with my life. And then, went into real estate.
And so it's interesting. You got into it by becoming the boss, being completely in charge, and you never worked your way in this business. You started out as the guy in charge of everything, right?
No, look, I tell people this all the time. I actually have this on a t-shirt now. It says terrible employee because I was a terrible, every single job that I ever worked at, I got fired or I quit because I was a terrible employee. So that's when I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So,
but I tell people all the time, and I tell this to my sons, that I say, you don't want to be me. You want to be where I am now.
Right.
You don't want to put in because
they see the result.
Yeah. I mean, I was a teenager in Texas summers learning how to roof and frame houses because my stepdad was just one of those, like, we were going to get up and go to work at 6 a.m. And then, when I got in this business, it was as a acquisitions manager for a Homevestors guy. It wasn't, and so many people, like, they want to step in and be, the top dog. And it's like, no, you got to.
Look, for me, like it was operations, right? That's how I built my foundation of real estate. Had I not learned how to manage properties, I would have not been able to build and scale a portfolio that I have today. That has been huge for us. And it was grunt work. It was cutting grass. It was learning how to paint properties, learning what a make-ready was, learning what happens when, the AC leaks onto the ceiling and, the tenant's saying they have a roof leak. Well, no, it's not raining outside. Those little things you pick up over time that you would never know had you, if somebody wanted to come into my shoes today, they would never know all of the grunt work and all the information that I learned over that time.
All right. So when we come back from this quick break, I want to talk about maybe ways people can skip the headaches that you and I had to go through. I want to talk about interest rates and how you see that impacting residential rentals and the BRRRR strategy. I really want to talk about vertical integration and the different things that you found should be insourced versus outsourced. And then really just talk more about kind of what you see happening in the business. So we'll be right back.
Are you looking for fast funding for your next fix and flip? What about leverage for your next long-term rental or vacation rental? Need capital for a new construction project? Look no further. RCN Capital has you covered. As the leading nationwide lender for real estate investors, RCN Capital offers short-term and long-term financing solutions for your next investment property. RCN Capital takes a common-sense approach to your loan request, offering high leverages and low rates backed by superior customer service. Whether you're investing in single-family properties or multifamily properties across the U.S., RCN Capital has funding options for you with no hoops to jump through and quick closings in as little as 2 weeks. Ready to get a quote for your next investment property? Visit rcncapital.com/podcast to apply today. There is no fee to apply. Again, that's rcncapital.com/podcast to apply today.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm here with my buddy Josh Wilson. Josh, let's go all the way back, right? You're working at the property management company. You, I guess, decide you don't want to be a career property manager.
No.
Talk about what led you kind of the next step in your entrepreneurial evolution?
Yeah. So to be honest with you, so I, again, didn't want to be a career property manager, and I've decided that we were managing properties for other people, and the time that it hit me was when I was sitting there looking at my wife, and we were making a ton of money. We were on the come up. We're making a ton of money. We're growing the management company, but the problem was it wasn't our properties.
Right.
So we're making this money, and then all of a sudden, one owner or one client would pull out, and then bam, all of a sudden, a couple grand goes away 1 month. And I told her, I said, I never want anybody else to be in control of my financial future. And that was the day that I started to invest myself and started figuring out ways to buy. And at that time, I was buying still at 20 and 30% down payments. And I'm looking at myself, calling my bankers, like, there's got to be other ways. Like, how can people buy all this real estate and they're saving up 20, 30% every single time? And my banker at the time, he told me, he said, Josh, he was like, I want you to earn your stripes. You're still green. You don't know enough yet. So he was giving me loans way back in the crisis, in the financial crisis, because that's when I started, right before the crisis hit. And so he was still lending to me, but he was giving me LTVs that were at 65%, 60% LTV. I was taking they were taking a risk on me, but at the same time, I was also taking a risk because I was putting so much money out.
Golly, you just said something very interesting, and I want to kind of drive on that. When I was in the Marine Corps, I made $1,810 a month as a sergeant, and I got an extra $100 if I went to combat for that month, and the whole thing became tax free.
Yeah,
and which was great money. I mean, you could drink a lot of beer and then eat at the chow hall, so it worked out well. But when I got out, I just decided that no one would ever tell me what my time was worth again, which is almost the same thing you just said there, right? Like, because, and I'll never forget my first commission job when I made like $6 grand in a week. Like, you're just like,
You're fired up. Yeah.
And then the next week you make $6, and then you remember, that's a whole nother conversation. So you're getting all these loans, you're buying all these houses, you're putting massive down payments. And then I'm guessing you discovered another strategy. Talk about that evolution.
Yeah, so it was slow, painful growth, like just trucking along. I picked up maybe like my first private money lender at the time, but I was still saving that 20, 30%. Picked up one private lender to basically partner with me on the equity side. And so she put up the money, she partnered with me on the equity side. Then she didn't like the up and down roller coaster of like getting rent in 1 month, getting a payment, direct deposit, and all of a sudden, oh wait, we had a toilet explode. Sorry, we're not getting a draw this month. So she then said, hey, look, I just want to lend you money and you go do the deals. Well, then I called my banker at the time that was still giving me loans. I said, look, man, there's got to be another way. How can I expand this portfolio? I can't keep doing this. And he told me, he said, Josh, he was like, have you ever heard of OPM? And I kind of already did because I was using the other money from the private lender. And he said, well, you need to learn how to use OPM with the BRRRR method. And he taught me a little. This was my banker, and he's an older guy. I still bank with him today.
Did he use the term BRRRR?
He used the term BRRRR, yeah. So he used the term BRRRR, and so I researched it. I found out more about it, and then I started buying properties under value. And so I started buying properties, pushing the values up via renovations, and the magic just started happening. And it was like the light bulb clicked. And I was like just buying all these properties, and my friends were asking me, man, how are you buying 6-7 deals a month and keeping them, And I was like, I'm utilizing the BRRRR method. And so I would have people start asking me, hey, you want to go to lunch? Hey, you want to go to dinner? Tell me what you're doing. How are you doing this? And so then it just exploded. And so now we're doing, anywhere between almost 9 to 10 deals a month. And we're doing bigger deals now. So we're not doing a traditional, we still do single families, but we're doing now up to 20 units. That's kind of like our buy box. 1 to 20 units is what we feel comfortable with. And it works for us,
So you're borrowing all this money, and so surely you're living off the refinances, right?
Yeah. So we don't take out any additional funds other than what our hard expenses are. So we're not pulling out additional equity. So we're pulling out up to 75%, but some deals are at 70 just because we don't have that much expense. So
and so how do you make money?
So my rule of thumb is $100 a month per unit. And I know you're probably you're looking at me like, no fucking way.
No, I'm not.
But that's my conservative way of doing it. And that's like my paycheck.
So the cash flow.
Correct, the cash flow.
See, I think too many people. Go ahead. No.
But I was going to say there are some other little ways that we try to massage it with the vertical integration. Probably way too deep to get in today because we don't have enough time. But the vertical integration is also key to being able to make additional funds within the BRRRR method.
But I think it's important because so many investors, specifically, they may be newer or they may be a little bit more old school. Like, I grew up in the end of get your houses paid off, boy, pay them off. Yeah. And they may be worried like, well, if I take all that debt, how am I going to pay the debt? And then how am I going to, live or pay my expenses? I think talk about cash flow from these rental properties and maybe not over leveraging and that part of your mindset.
Right. So, when it comes to over leveraging for us, like, again, the vertical integration is huge because I am in control of how my properties perform. Even though we went through COVID, we went through oil spills, went through hurricanes, got smacked in the mouth by a hurricane. But had I not had the vertical integration, I probably would have never been able to survive those events. And what I mean by that is because my team is aligned. So if I had to go outsource and hire another property manager to do all those things, they're gonna operate the way they want it operated. Right. We're operating the way we want it. So what was your question? I completely went off
cash flow. How do you make sure you don't over leverage? A lot of people I don't think they understand. Like they think, well, if I borrow too much, then I'll have my payment be too high. Right. Like, how do you kind of balance that?
Yeah. So what we do is we have a buy box that we stick to. It's very strict.
And a buy box, like is this like a cardboard box?
It's like a little box we draw out, and we got a little box for LTV. We got a box for cash flow. We have a box for the amount of unit size that we buy from, and then we have an I forgot what the.
So does it have to meet just one of them or all of them?
No, it's got to check all the boxes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's where we're going. You've developed a checklist, in essence, of different criteria. Not just can you borrow all your money out of it, but can you borrow your money back? Is it the right location or type?
Yep.
And does it cash flow?
Yeah. So my minimum cash flow is $300 a month on a single family home minimum after all expenses. And I'm talking all expenses like vacancy, repairs and maintenance, CapEx, property management. That's another thing. Property management, we pay our property management company a fee. That's how we're able to grow and have the systems in place. And then in addition to that, we have that LTV requirement. So we make sure that when we go to refinance that we're going to be able to bump up to that LTV and not go over. So we got to make sure our ARVs are in alignment,
right?
And make sure that the cash flow is in alignment. That's huge. So on a multifamily property, anything over 2 units, our rule of thumb is it's got to cash flow at least a minimum of $150 a unit or more. So that's how we stay in alignment. And so we're only pulling out $100 a month. So we already have CapEx reserve, you got to remember. So, and then in addition to that, we have excess that's building each month. At the end of the year, my wife and I sit down, we look at the actual report, our 12-month cash flow report, and we either going to have a surplus or we're not going to make anything. But the great thing is that I'm able to pull out $100 a month. And at the end of the year, I can decide, hey, do you want to go buy another property? Do you want to go to Italy? Do you want to go to Europe? What do you want to do? We usually have a nice little surplus, but it's a safety net for me. I feel comfortable every month going to bed, sleeping at night, knowing that I'm conservatively pulling out a little bit of money.
So I think, number one, clearly it's not a hobby for you. You're running it like a business, very intentional.
Yep.
I love talking to entrepreneurs that are intentional. But before we take our next break, why don't you talk a little bit, tell me all the different pieces that you've vertically integrated in your property business.
Yeah, so the main pieces are, number one, the property management side, which is huge because we're now able to do virtual showings and self-showings. We were doing self-showings before COVID. COVID hit, nobody wanted to interact with each other. We were already doing self-showings. We didn't miss a beat. Like we were leasing properties probably faster than before. So that was huge for us. So having the property management piece, being able to lease properties quickly, and then in addition to that, having the maintenance side built into the property management side. That is a massive expense on the P&L sheet when investors are investing in rental properties. So we're able to control that cost by having in-house teams. We have our own in-house HVAC guy. We have make-ready teams, so all those things are crucial to be able to perform at the high level that we need to get the numbers that we need to at the end of the month. In addition to that, we also have a rehab company. So when we go do our rehabs, go do our rehabs on our properties, we are a licensed home improvement contractor. So we can go and do work up to $75,000 in the state of Louisiana. And so that's what we do. So we do all of our own in-house stuff. Now we have subs in case we need, we fall behind, but we have subs and things like that. And then in addition to that, we have a sales brokerage. So my wife and I, we buy properties like literally we're 30,000 feet up in the air. We've done deals. Literally, she's looked up the comps. She is, we said, okay, these are the rental comps. These are the ARV comps. She looks at me. It looks good. I signed the DocuSign document on there, and then I'm wiring the money as soon as I land. So right. Having those pieces available to us are crucial in our growth.
So we're about to take a break. When we come back, one of my favorite things we do every week is called the Money Minute, where I'm going to make you tell the listener in 60 seconds the most important thing they can do to make more money in their real estate investing business this year. So think about it. We'll be right back.
REI Inc. is a monthly business publication for real estate investors, covering all types of real estate investments and strategies. It is the most comprehensive real estate investment publication on the market. All of the articles are written by the top leaders in the industry, so investors are assured of always getting the best information possible. Each month, REI Inc. also profiles the top companies in the industry and provides insights and data into key regional markets. Along with their sister platforms, the REI Referral Network and Highest Invest, real estate investors have exclusive access to off-market investment opportunities and national acquisition and disposition initiatives. To learn more, visit www.rei-inc.com, where you can also access the REI Referral Network. Also, be sure and visit www.highest-and-best.com to view the latest exclusive off-market assets with near immediate acceptance decisions and closing strategies. You can also email marketing@rei-referralnetwork.com to request more information.
So the Money Minute. Yeah. So look, guys, if I was starting out again, trying to figure out ways to grow my portfolio, it would be via OPM, other people's money. That is the massive, massive way to scale your portfolio. And you can do it just by networking, utilizing your inner circle, and going out there, finding people that may have money in accounts that you don't even know about. Give you an example. I use Facebook, I use social media to raise money. I've raised $2 million from social media from people that I've never met before, but it's because they see the process, they see the journey, and then they're interested. And so other thing I would say too is document your journey. Go online, put yourself out there, even if you don't want to. You will be surprised at the amount of people that would be interested in you and in partnering with you along the way.
Man, that's some great advice. Great advice. So now it's my turn to talk. We're going to do a little rapid fire. I like doing this because I hear people like you talking, and I have these little questions, right?
Yep.
Interest rates.
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
They're up, but my thinking is the Fed can't keep going at the way they're going. There's going to be some wall they're going to hit where they're going to have to balance recession over inflation. And I think we're getting to that point where this little 50 point bump, or that half a percentage bump that just happened, I think we're going to start feeling it a little bit more coming in the next couple of months. And then I think they're going to have no choice but to slow it down.
So the Facebook economists will all tell you that the bubble's gonna pop.
Yep.
Wait and buy at the bottom, and prices are coming down. Are we in a bubble?
No. And I'll tell you this: the reason why we're not in a bubble is because I had to make the decision the other day with my wife on whether or not we were going to spend $150,000 and renovate our backyard, or go to the market and find out an upgrade to something else. We have a 2.87% mortgage rate on our house. For me to want to leave to go buy something else, you got to really pull me, and I didn't find anything that I could upgrade to that was worthwhile. So when you have a shit ton of, excuse me, when you have a crap ton of demand and low supply, I mean, we are where we are.
So supply and demand, everyone wants to talk about the global supply chain issues. In my opinion, one of the biggest problems is no one wants to work.
Yeah.
But everyone wants to spend. How is supply and demand impacting your business or your businesses today?
Yeah, so we're struggling a little bit on the hiring front when it comes to having maintenance workers. We probably could hire about 2 or 3 more maintenance workers right now, but just because of the economy and where we are, I guess, with the workforce, it's crushing us. So we're getting by. We're able to utilize other folks, and other subs to get done what we need done. But it's definitely different than when it was in 2018. I can tell you that.
So I like talking to people that are like street level, get the real pulse of the street. how many more houses would have to be built to stop the shortage? And do you think it ever happens?
I don't think so. The other thing, I was talking with somebody the other day, actually it was last night at dinner, and we were talking about like population. And, we were talking about like, oh yeah, the millennials are not making as many babies as, our generation was. And, and I just told them, I was like, we need more babies. Everybody keep creating more babies, because the more the population grows, the more it's better for real estate. So I'm an advocate for people to make more babies.
Make more babies. That's going to be the episode title.
That's going to be the title.
Yeah, make more babies. Josh, why did you get into teaching others to do this?
Well, it was honestly because it got to a point where I had so much knowledge, and I'm trucking along, doing deals, having fun, in real estate, but I still felt like something was missing. And I told my wife, I was like, I have people that ask me all the time. They take me to lunch, they'll take me to dinner, we go have coffee, and we talk about deals, how I do my processes, et cetera, my systems. And it got to a point where it was becoming overwhelming. It was actually starting to become a side job, and I wasn't getting paid for it. And so, I told her, I was like, my cup is just not full. And so when I started doing that and just giving people knowledge and wisdom and experience because of the mistakes, I made a ton of mistakes in the past 15 years I've been in real estate. So I know the game. I've been there, done that. And so now teaching has allowed me, and it filled my cup, moving forward.
So you've made a ton of mistakes in your career. Biggest mistake?
Oh, biggest mistake. I would have to say...
any of them.
Yeah, I would say biggest mistake, honestly, not starting the BRRRR method sooner. If I'd started the BRRRR method in 2007, 8, my portfolio would be 3 times as large as it is today.
Other than your wife, because apparently she's the one that tells you what to do and gives you all the good ideas, what's the best decision you've made in this business?
Best decision was honestly to do the BRRRR method and the vertical integration, because that has allowed me to scale my portfolio. Had I not had those things in place, I would still be trucking along saving 20% down payments.
What's the number one mistake you see your students make?
Is being too aggressive. Sometimes they want to go, they want to get a property under their belt so fast. And sometimes we just got to pull the reins back and say, you know what? Let's actually analyze and underwrite the deal properly, make sure we're checking all the boxes in the buy box, and then we go in and make the offer.
What's the most money you've ever lost on a home?
I've lost about $52,000 on a flip that we just did about 6 months ago. So,
whoa, okay, wait. So the expert in the room is flipping a house this time in the cycle and losing money. See, I only invite real people on here. So I knew that you had lost money, because we all have if we've been doing it long enough.
Yep.
And anyone that says that they hadn't, I don't believe.
Yep.
All right, so talk about that. Was it materials? Was it labor? Was it the hurricane?
We undershot the renovation budget, had foundation issues and undershot it, and the foundation blew us out the water. Had to just sell it just to get rid of it. So,
you know what though? That's cutting bait. I tell people all the time, you cannot rehab your way out of a bad buy.
Yep.
And when, as a lender, people will bring me a deal that like every other lender in town has passed on. It's like, no.
Yeah, I know the reason why.
Yeah, right? Yeah. It's like, my private money lender funds $20 a month for me, but he doesn't want this one. It's like,
right. Yeah,
all right,
obviously. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, parting thoughts, parting shots. Tell everybody kind of how to get in touch with you, phone number, email, website. How do we reach you?
Yeah, so one thing I would say is for newer investors out there looking to get started, or even seasoned investors, the one thing that I have found that has worked for me is whatever you do it consistently. So don't do it once and then it doesn't work and then give up because you're like, oh shit, it doesn't work. Do it over and do it over again and be consistent with it. And I promise you're going to see the results that you're looking for. As far as getting in touch with me, I'm all over social media. Real Josh Wilson, Josh Wilson on Facebook, Real J Wilson on Instagram. Believe it or not, my kids got me on TikTok, so I'm on TikTok now. Real J Wilson on there as well. Hit me up. I got a lot of awesome content, a lot of videos, and we do boot camps every month as well. So BRRRRBootcamp.com.
Well, good deal. We're going to put all your information on the screen on the video component and down in the show notes. Take your time. Don't be too aggressive and be consistent.
That's it.
Those are the things that I'm hearing you say that anyone listening to this really needs to focus on.
Especially in the market I think we're going into, definitely take your time.
And other people's money.
And other people's money.
All right.
100%.
Well, everybody, thank you for listening. Remember, your network is your net worth, and today you've been growing both. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening to Uncontested Investing. Questions about today's episode or the podcast? Email podcast@rcncapital.com and make sure to follow REI Inc. magazine on LinkedIn and Facebook, and RCN Capital on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. See you all next time.